All right, what's going on, everybody? Mike Bachman here, and today I have the pleasure of bringing in another guest to the show. He is a talent statistician for ESPN and CBS Sports, the brains behind the broadcast, if you will. He is Russ Dlin. He joins us here today to talk some NFL. Russ, great to see you again. How are you doing?
Hey, Michael, how are you? I wouldn't say I'm the brains behind everything. I would say I'm part of a big broadcast, but thanks for the compliment.
Absolutely, and it's great to see you again for contributing to this show. Once again, always love talking NFL with you. And, even though the sports world has been on a lockdown for the most part, the NFL offseason has been in full swing. There's a lot of stories coming out of it. But I want to start in a particular spot in basically something that's been drawn out over the past year and a half, and that's the situation with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. And there were a lot of false reports that came out saying that Dak Prescott had turned down a 5-year, $175 million contract, saying that he wanted upwards of $45 million a year. And now it seems that the contract dispute is more so for the length. It sounds like Dak wants a longer contract, or a shorter contract rather. The Cowboys want a longer contract. I mean, they have until July 15th to make a decision. Do you think that a deal is going to get done between Dak and the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, the Dallas Cowboys would be crazy not to sign Dak Prescott, in my opinion. Dak Prescott's agent, Todd France, as you mentioned, July 15th is the cutoff date where a long-term agreement needs to be made. Russell Wilson makes $35 million a year. If Dak Prescott signs his contract, he will make about $31.5 million this year. But Dak Prescott gambled on himself last year. The Dallas Cowboys thought they had him for a 3 or 4 year deal worth $90 million. But Dak Prescott decided to play out the season and make $2 million last year. So the problem is the Dallas Cowboys signed all kinds of people for some big money. Ezekiel Elliott signed for big money. DeMarcus Lawrence signed for big money. Amari Cooper signed for big money. How much money's left for Dak Prescott is the answer. So I just don't know how much is left in the tank. I mean, Jared Goff signed $110 million guaranteed, which is probably what Dak Prescott's asking for right now. And is he going to get it? I don't know. I think he should get it, to be honest with you. Dallas really is the team that disappointed everybody last year because they had big-time talent with big-time money, and they wound up going 8-8. So, in comes Mike McCarthy, the head coach, who, has been a successful coach in the NFL. And what is he going to do with Dak Prescott? I mean, people don't understand that they signed a backup quarterback, from the Cincinnati Bengals. So the guy's been in the league for a long time. So if Dak doesn't sign this deal, then, the Dallas Cowboys are in trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we are in a league right now where quarterbacks are paid premium money. As you said, Jared Goff signed that huge deal. We saw Ryan Tannehill get a massive deal. And, 8 games and that the Tennessee Titans playoff run is one thing, but Ryan Tannehill has had a mediocre career at best, and he gets paid this massive contract. We saw Kirk Cousins get a massive deal with Minnesota. Dak Prescott does sit behind an all-star offensive line. He's gotten arguably the best running back in the league. And now they steal CeeDee Lamb in the draft to pair along with Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. It seems like no excuse right now. But I look back at this, it's a similar situation with Tony Romo. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys wasted no time in signing Tony Romo. And it sounds like they're in the same boat and are looking for the same things. They're all in for the same reasons as Dak Prescott. But even as you said, bringing in Andy Dalton, obviously a proven quarterback in this league, made a couple Pro Bowls and a serviceable backup at this point. Do you think that the Cowboys just don't believe in Dak Prescott, or is it something more overarching?
I think it just comes down to dollars and cents. Dak Prescott threw for a career-high 4,900 yards last year and a career-high 30 touchdowns. So he was not the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. In my opinion, it was their defense. But their offense is arguably the best in the league right now. And you bring in an offensive mastermind like Mike McCarthy, the Dallas Cowboys are going to be a big-time contender. I expect them to make the playoffs this year. They are going to be a Super Bowl contender, but it all depends on what their defense does this year. But people have to understand it's not Dak Prescott that is the reason why they didn't make the playoffs. It was their defense is why, they had a Swiss cheese defense. They gave up so many points. There was a ton of holes in the defense, but their offense was terrific last year. So I expect Dallas to really make a run this year, especially with CeeDee Lamb, as you mentioned, as a top speedy wide receiver.
Totally. And now, obviously, the loss of Byron Jones at cornerback. They drafted Trevon Diggs. It's going to be interesting to see if that defense can bounce back next year. But as we said, Dak Prescott still looking for that contract. We'll see how it transpires. But Joe Flacco signed a deal with the Jets this past weekend, which now leaves Cam Newton as the only starter from 2019 out on the open market. Now, I've always believed in Cam Newton. I think he absolutely 100% deserves a starting job. I do know that injuries have plagued his career, but he too is a proven winner, former MVP, Super Bowl appearance. I mean, why do you think that the teams have not signed Cam Newton, or they've been apprehensive to take a chance? He's still fairly young and could have a developed career ahead of him. So what are your thoughts?
Well, Cam Newton was due to make $19 million this year. As you mentioned, he had foot surgery at the end of last year, but he really hasn't played that well in the last 2 seasons. Big question mark with him. You're talking about a speedy running quarterback that had foot surgery at the end of last year. In his last 37 games, he's thrown 30 interceptions. He hasn't been great. Also, if you look, over the last 33 starts, he's only had 3 comeback wins. So he's not a great come-from-behind quarterback in the fourth quarter. So if you look at his QBR, his quarterback rating has been 52 in the last 2 years as a starter. Again, not very good at all. And if you look at it compared to a guy like Tom Brady's had something in the mid-70s as a QBR. So just to give you a comparison of the two. So you're taking a big chance for a guy who's going to, you got to pay him $19-20 million. I'm not too sure he's going to be a starting quarterback this year. In my opinion, Cam Newton should go to the Los Angeles Chargers because Tyrod Taylor, in my opinion, is not the answer. But you got to give Cam Newton an opportunity over there because they got a really good offensive line, a really good team. They had a really good draft. So that, to me, is his best place in the NFL to start this year if he's going to. But I personally think that the Chargers are going to start with Tyrod Taylor. If they sign Cam Newton, then eventually midway through the season, they're going to wind up seeing Cam Newton as a starter.
Yeah, and as you said, the foot surgery is definitely a red flag. It's something to take heavy consideration into because Cam Newton, when he wasn't throwing a ball, he was doing all the work with his legs. But even so, as you said, those interceptions are a red flag. And his completion percentage, I believe he only has 3 seasons where he has over 60% completion percentage. So those numbers, not the best, but Cam Newton is a proven winner. And I think that his best bet, I do understand, he's been working a lot this offseason and he's been posting on social media trying to show his worth. But I think his best bet is going to have to serve as a backup for this time around, allow teams to get a sense of where he's at health-wise. And who knows, if he does go to the Chargers, I look at a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers who have no answer at backup quarterback, even the Jacksonville Jaguars. Are they going to run with Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback, or are they going to tank for the draft next year? I know a lot of people are saying the Patriots, but Cam Newton just will never fit in that Patriots offense ever. But it'll be interesting to see kind of where he falls. But I think that the biggest story coming out of this free agency was obviously Tom Brady and going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, really shaping up that NFC South now. You got Brady, Breeze, Matt Ryan, and now Teddy Bridgewater trying to prove himself. I don't think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the division. I know a lot of people are high on the Bucs right now. I still think that the Saints are the class of that NFC South. How much do you think Brady changes this division?
Well, you look at that division, holy smokes. I mean, you're looking at Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady. I mean, that's a tough division right there. If you look at Tom Brady in his career versus that NFC South, 17-4 in his career versus the NFC South, third best versus any conference or any division that he's played against. And he has really dominated that division with 29 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in his career. Tom Brady's got all the weapons in the world. You throw in Gronkowski that they signed, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin he's throwing to. I mean, those guys are like world-class sprinters, for crying out loud. So if you're Tom Brady, just throw the ball up for grabs. One of those guys is going to come down with it. So as long as Tom Brady stays healthy and Gronk stays healthy, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to have a really good offense. But again, their biggest question mark is going to be their defense. Can they stop guys like Drew Brees and Matt Ryan within the division? So it's really going to be, can you outscore the opposition in that division? Some of these scores going to be like 45, 43, 52, 50. I expect fireworks out of that division this year.
Totally. And you mentioned Rob Gronkowski, obviously getting lured out of retirement from Tom Brady. Now, I don't think that Gronk is going to have a massive impact in that offense. I mean, his age, I think there's a lot of red flags with Gronk. His age, he's getting up there on the other side of 30. His injury history, obviously, and being out of the league for this extended period of time. Yeah, I know he's lost a lot of weight, but he's been putting that weight back on, trying to get back up to 260, 265. But I just look at Bruce Arians' offense. They don't utilize tight ends. We see O.J. Howard has a lot of potential in this league, really haven't been able to see that potential. Do you think Brady might be able to have a little bit more of a say in Bruce Arians' offense in trying to utilize guys like Gronk even more so, or position players maybe that weren't utilized in years past? Do you think Brady will be able to have that voice down there?
Well, look at this for a second. If you look at Tom Brady when he was in New England, can you name 2 starting wide receivers in the same year that he had? I can't offhand. I mean, so Brady has made these guys into superstars. So you take guys like a Chris Godwin and a Mike Evans, name guys, and put them in an offense behind Tom Brady. I think they're going to be successful in offense, obviously, because, Tom Brady has proven he could take guys off the street and make them superstars. I mean, so again, look at the Tampa Bay offense and a guy like Bruce Arians, who's a great offensive coordinator. So in my opinion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be a playoff team. Will they win it all? I don't think so. I think you are right that the New Orleans Saints are the team to beat in that division. But boy, it's not going to be. It might go down to the last game of the regular season. It's going to be neck and neck throughout the entire year in that division.
Definitely. I think they'll be hanging in there right there with the Saints, but I think they will fall possibly one game behind. I mean, Jameis Winston won 7 games with that team, and I believe that, if Brady offers at least 3 more wins to that Tampa Bay offense, especially with guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the outside. I mean, Chris Godwin has developed into a stud, and that 1-2 punch at wide receiver is really going to be fun to watch with Brady there.
Speedsters. These guys can run like the wind, man. Absolutely.
Totally. And now ESPN's got that new documentary coming out about Brady next year. So it'll be interesting even now with the narrative, if Brady crashes and burns, or if the move to Tampa Bay was a successful one and he does find success down there. So it makes the narrative even more interesting. So
no doubt. And I was very fortunate, by the way. I got to tell you, I worked Tom Brady's first start in the NFL. And after that game, my friend Brent Jones, who is a former tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, said to me after that game, I said, he literally told me, he said, this guy is a Hall of Famer. If you recall, Tom Brady's first start in the NFL was against Peyton Manning at home. And Tom Brady only threw for like 150-something yards, but he won. But his accuracy, the way he threw that ball in his first start was amazing. It was pinpoint accuracy. And Brent, I give him credit. He literally said, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Very interesting to see how that all plays out. I mean, a storied career for Brady. But now I want to look at one more thing that was proposed and that I've just recently found out about, actually. We know the onside kick seems to be becoming more and more obsolete in this NFL. We saw changes to it last year in order to have better player safety when they're doing those kickoffs. But the new proposed alternative will allow teams to convert a 4th and 15 at their own 25 to retain possession. And I think this is very interesting because and with all due respect to the kicker and the hands team, when it all comes down to it, it's tied right there, or you're a score behind and you're looking for that extra chance. I feel that as a fan and as a coach, you want it in the hands of your playmakers. You want to see Patrick Mahomes making those plays, Lamar Jackson making those plays. You want those high-profile guys with the ball in their hands. I think this is a very interesting little adjustment. So do you think that this will gain a lot of traction? And do you think that onside kicks will eventually become obsolete in this league?
I do. There's several things to look at this point. The big question with the new onside kick rule of the 4th and 15 rule, again, first it's if you're behind, do you go for the 4th and 15? Of course. But what if you're ahead? Can you still do it? Can you still go 4th and 15 when you're up by 10 points with 2 minutes to go? You could. I mean, it's a possibility. That's the big question that I would like to see, that Can you go for the 4th and 15 if you're ahead, not behind, but if you're leading with 2 minutes to go? Can you do it? I think you should. I think you should be able to play keep away if you wanted to. But if you look at numbers wise, 4th and 15 on 3rd down last year, not 4th down, but if you look at last year's number on 3rd and 15, the conversion rate was 14%, which if before last year, when they made these onside kick rules different, the conversion rate was 20%. So that's about, it's better than 10% because there was only 2 onside kicks that were recovered last year. Two, which is a lousy number, 10%. But again, going back 2 years previously, the onside kicking team would recover 20% of the time. But that's a lot better than 10% because with these new rules where, you can't run up to the line of scrimmage, I think if they do allow the 4th and 15 rule, which I think they will, I think you're going to see a lot more teams really use that than go for the onside kick. Because that onside kick, you still can do that if you wanted to, according to what my sources have told me in the NFL, saying you're giving you the option to do the onside kick or go for the 4th and 15. More teams are going to go for that 4th and 15. I think it's going to be a solid rule because 98% of kickoffs were not returned last year. So it's a really waste of time. To your point, get rid of the kickoff. There's nobody, literally just put the ball at the 25-yard line if you needed to. So nobody returns a kickoff anymore. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, it rarely happens now. So definitely being able to utilize that time better and give teams more of an opportunity to make something happen definitely will provide more excitement for the fans and definitely more competition between teams. So, Russ, as always, I do appreciate you taking the time just to talk some NFL with me today and hope that you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe. Hopefully we could get this NFL season rocking and rolling as normal come August and September, right?
I'm looking forward to it. Believe me, this is going to be a very challenging year for everybody in the NFL. There's a possibility that there'll be no fans this year, which I find hard to believe. The NFL might lose $4 billion if it doesn't happen this year. College football, same thing. I mean, these schools are banking on the college football season to happen because, for example, the University of Texas, they have 23 teams within that university that is depending on the football team to make money for them. So you'll see more and more programs start to fall off the map if they don't have a college football season. And same thing with the NFL season. We're going to have all kinds of issues with teams if they don't, play this year. But I expect, the season to start without fans, and then maybe toward the middle of the season, they'll open up the doors to have fans come in and enjoy the party.
Well, we would definitely love to see that. As anything we can get at this point is definitely a win. But
we'll take it.
Russ, thank you so much for taking the time, sharing your knowledge. It's always great sitting down and talking to you, and hopefully we'll be able to see you soon in person sometime soon.
Sounds good, Michael. All the best.